Hey, what's up guys, Ryan here. Welcome back to the tutorial, and today we're going to build just a quick mock-up of a stadium inside of C4D, and I'll show you a fast way to do that to kind of just, get a stadium going inside your scene, get some scale reference happening, and kind of just a fast way to build a sports stadium and start working with it right away. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, cool. So here we are on our side of Sim4D, and we're going to start building our stadium. So the first thing I like to do for reference, and let's just say we're doing a football stadium, I'm going to drag in just a quick PNG I made of some football lines. So let me go ahead and I'll just show you what this looks like. So just a quick PNG of the hashtags and all that good stuff. So what I'm going to do is just drag that texture into Sim4D. I don't need to make a copy of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a field really quick that sort of matches this image. So the fastest way to do this that I like to do is I'm just going to go ahead and lock this window so it stays up. And let's get a new plane going, and just to get it going quickly to match the texture and we don't have to scale it or mess around with it too much, is I like to make it the size of the resolution. So our width is 8222 and our height is 4006. So now that I know this matches the width of our image, all I have to do is drag this texture on, and we're good to go. And if you're like me, the resolution of these lines might bug you a little bit, so you won't be able to see that. So let's just go ahead and double click on our texture here. We'll go to our editor tab that's already selected here. And what I'm going to do is, instead of the default preview texture size, we know it's 8K, so I might just set this to 8K. And now we have that in our preview. So this is a pretty big field if we want to bring a figure out for reference. So not too bad, but what we're going to do is we'll just build everything around what our image is. So let me delete that figure. Let's start getting the outline of our stadium. So one of the things I like to do is I like to start with, let's go with a rectangle, and I'm just going to start sliding the width and height around until we kind of get where our boundaries of our stadium would be. So let's imagine that maybe there's, some sidelines people here and some stands and stuff like that. So I might make this just a little bit wider, and I'm going to go ahead and select the rounding, and I'm just going to start getting rounded edges there. So that's kind of the first step I like to start with. And now, in the right view here, and so what I'm looking at here is this is kind of a reference image that's, it's just probably a still rendering of getting a stadium look. And what we're going to do is we want to match the side profile. Imagine, we're looking at the side, and we kind of want to match how this goes straight up, kind of curves back here for the stands. It goes straight up again. And this is probably, a little bit of an overhang from these stands back here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a spline and kind of draw what the profile of this is. So let's move that off to the side. I'm just kind of looking at it here on my other screen. So with ourselves, we were at the top view here. Now we're on the right angle. Let's just get an idea where our stadium outline is. And what I'm going to do is let's just take let's take a Bezier spline here, and we're just going to kind of draw. We're just going to kind of draw the side profile of that image that we look like. So let's go ahead and do that. So from the side of the field, it kind of goes straight up, and then it kind of curves back here for the seating, straight up a little bit more. And then I'm kind of looking at this, it kind of comes, comes out because we have more, we have more people on top, and it sort of goes straight up again. And these people need seating too, so that'll go back even further. And even though this was a double decker, let's make ours, triple seating. Well, we got to make our nosebleed section here, and that also goes straight up. We have even more seating behind this, and maybe it kind of just ends with a little bit of an overhang, top of the stadium sort of here. So that's kind of our, the way we're going to do this, we can adjust this all on the fly later, but this is just to get us an overall idea of what our stadium can be like in, sort of perspective. And kind of looking at this from the football field to this, it might be a little tall, but we'll adjust with that later. So with our spline here, which surrounded our field and our stadium, this is kind of our, let's just call it stadium profile. I'm going to go ahead and do Shift C. I'm going to bring out a sweep. All right, and with our sweep here selected, and yeah, this is a pretty tall stadium. Let's go ahead and grab the stadium profile in the rectangle, and we'll drop into the sweep. And so what we have right now is something, it's a little funky looking. And what this probably just is, you know, if we grab our anchor point here and we want to change the anchor point of the stadium profile, we probably just need to rotate this depending on how you drew your spline. So what I'm going to try is actually just rotating this on the top axis. Ooh, let me make sure I grab just the green part. And I'm just going to start rotating this. I'm just going to go 90 degrees until it looks like it follows that, you know, rectangle spline that we made. And there we go. We're starting to get our stadium look. Now, if you don't like how this looks, and let's just go ahead and add, you know, I'm just going to add a big plane here for the floor so it looks like it has a bit of a bottom. I'll just drop it a little bit underneath our field. And so here we are on the side of our, you know, our initial stadium. So, you know, it does have a little bit of a roof. And let's say you decide later that, oh, I don't really like the way that roof looks. Well, all you got to do is select our stadium profile again. And the roof is a little weird. So let's just go ahead and we can either shift these over. Oh, I was still in the anchor point. Let me make sure that we're selecting the points and not the anchor point. And with those selected, you know, we kind of get an idea of what our stadium starts to look like. So let me go ahead and go back. Let me go back inside of our stadium eventually. Let's see. And, you know, I'm just looking at our side profile here, and we can adjust if we want the stadium to have a roof or not. And, you know, if anything you don't want that, just go ahead and delete those points. We have a little bit of our open air roof here. Maybe I want a little bit more, you know, more of a safety barrier so people don't fall off the edge here. Then I might just go ahead and I'm just going to grab all these points, these 3 points right here, and I'll just shift this up a little bit to make that a little bit larger fascia. And then eventually we can put our graphics and stuff on here. And let me switch to get our lines in here as well. And there we go. We start to get a profile of our stadium. Make our first level seating a little smaller maybe, and maybe it doesn't go back as far. And the cool thing is I can just kind of tweak this, you know, however you want your stadium to look. But basically it just gives you a great start on if you have to make, you know, a soccer field, a football field, or anything like that. And, you know, let's go ahead, you know, just so we're playing around with it. We're almost good to go here, but let me go ahead and delete more points, and we'll make it more of a 2-tier stadium. All right, cool. And so what we got is, you know, we got our stadium setting here, and maybe we'll just make a couple of other little, you know, little fine adjustments. And if I want to add more points to this, with the spline selected and with points selected, and make sure you have your move tool selected, I can just hit control or hold control and, you know, add some points and maybe give this stadium some thickness here at the end. And, you know, maybe something like that. And let's say you kind of get this overall stadium look and you're liking how, you know, how it's going. What you can do is just go ahead, and I like to just make a copy of this, and I put it in a folder called Originals, just in case for any reason I want to come back to it. And with your sweep selected, you can just hit C, and now you have an editable object that you can start separating out and adding textures to. If I go into polygon mode, and, you know, I select this fascia and I do UL to get sort of a loop, I can start manipulating and texturing these fascias however I want. So you could put some textures on there. You could put some different logos and graphics. And basically you can start, you can start getting some of your stadium seating going in the whole 9 yards. And, you know, we can also adjust the scale. Maybe it's sort of, let me get the whole object. Maybe it sort of matches the field a little bit more, and it's not so large, and you can quickly and easily start building your stadium scene for football, soccer, or whatever you want. So there we go, guys. There's another tutorial, just you know, quick, easy way to sort of get a stadium look, get your scale going, get your perspective going, and depending on, you know, using depth of field and stuff like that, this low poly stadium, you can get a lot done with it, especially if you got lens flares in there, you know, your lights covering up a lot of stuff. You can get away with not having a lot of detail and selling your sports scene. So hope that helps. Have a great Friday, guys. I will see you in the next live stream or the next tutorial next week. So until then, have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you next time.